Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to the Bunker Buddies podcast, where we talk about mysterious things, cryptids, conspiracies, and so much more. Today, we're going to be talking about a murder that is still an open case. That is the Pauline Robbin Burgett case. Before we get into that, though, I'm your host, JD, and as you can see, I'm back in the bunker. And you can see now that we have a subscription to StreamYard. Thank you, StreamYard. I'm now able to videotape this and edit everything right here in front of me. So I love that so much. And as you can see, I'm by myself today. There is no co-host, Blackout Brannon. He's out doing some amazing things for us, though. So thank you, Blackout. We'll see you soon. Now let's highlight our beer of podcast today. As you know, we always do a beer of podcast, and because it is just me, I'm doing my favorite beer of podcast, and that is an 805. 805s are my favorite beers. If I go into a grocery store, I have the money, I'm going to get an 805. Obviously, I drink cheaper things just because it saves money, but 805 is my favorite beer, especially on a nice hot day like today. Ice cold beer. It's the best way to go. Well, it's so good. With all that said, please comment down below what your favorite beer is and what beer you should think we would bring onto the podcast. What do you think we'll like? What do you want us to highlight on the podcast? Let us know down below. Remember to give us a like and subscribe. Now, get those conspiracy hats on, because here we go. Pauline Robbin Burgett was born on February 23rd, 1962, and spent her childhood growing up in Phoenix, Arizona. Her family, being a lower-class family, financially couldn't really do a lot, so they moved around from time to time. She did have a younger brother, Chad. Described her more than a sister because they were so close. Just growing up, Chad always considered her more than a sister, considered her a friend. He recalls how much Pauline favored the hot summertime and would love to be outside barefoot all the time. In her teen years, Pauline did drop out of high school, preferring to focus more on social life and working. She had lots of friends and enjoyed dating. She had many boyfriends, assuming of around the time of her death, she had about 3 boyfriends. She did work. One of her main jobs that she did was babysitting. She babysat all around the Phoenix area. With this, she did create a little bit of a rift with some of the wives. This is due to some of those men, fathers, making advances towards her, and then the wives later on making death threats against her. We'll come back to this a little bit later. But on the morning of March 12th, 1978, after a weekend vacation with Chad and his mother, Chad and the mom arrived back at the duplex, and Chad ran into the house to go and let Pauline know, hey, we're back, mom's home, better start cleaning up, get the house nice and clean. A very courteous thing to do for a sibling, because I would definitely throw my sibling under the bus in a situation like that. But as he ran into the house, nobody was home. So he went towards Pauline's bedroom. Pauline's bedroom door was wide open, which is weird because she usually closes it. As he got closer, he continued calling her name until he saw her deceased body. She was beaten with a blunt object and stabbed multiple times. This was a very hard and devastating thing for the family, the brother and the mom. Obviously, the mom called the police right away, and the police then made the house a crime scene. There's no signs of forced entry into the house, and police were able to gather 2 different DNA evidence from the scene, both not of Pauline, obviously. However, with DNA evidence at the time and DNA technology, they were unable to match those to anybody. A few suspects in my research has come forward. A former client of Pauline's did threaten her because her husband did make advances towards her. So they made death threats against her if she ever came back, and blah, 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 blah. Which I want to highlight how gross and disturbing that is, because a grown man made advances towards a 16-year-old girl. Just take that in for a minute. Made advances to a 16-year-old girl. That is disgusting. Anyways, I digress. One other reports did kind of lean towards it could have been a former client. Just out of anger, out of jealousy, it could have been an option. However, one thing that we do have to examine is during the police report, they did mention there was no sign of a break-in. So whoever was in the house was invited inside. Because of the DNA evidence that they found, they do also presume that she was sexually assaulted. So this does kind of lean towards, could it have been a jealous ex-boyfriend? We don't know that, obviously, as it is still an open case in Phoenix, Arizona. So other things that we need to look at in this investigation is that it was unusual for Robbin to be home alone, especially for a weekend. She was supposed to be hanging out with a friend. The last time that anybody saw her was the friend when Robbin left that Saturday to go home to, as she told her friend, to cook dinner for her boyfriend. That was the last time Robbin was ever seen alive. No arrests were made, which is very sad. Just 3 years after his sister's murder, the Burgett mother passed away of a diabetic complication. This was, as Chad would say, was due to the mother's depression about losing Pauline and just refusing to take her medicine. The only reason this case remains open and that this is still a talked about topic to today is because of Chad. Chad says there is not a day that goes by he does not think about his sister, Pauline. I think that's so sad. But obviously with technology and evidence that they found at the time, there's not enough to connect those dots, you know? I don't know, what do you think? Would it have been a jealous ex-lover? Could it have been a jealous former client's wife? Or maybe even a jealous former client who knew Pauline had multiple boyfriends and was being quote-unquote a tease? These are all possibilities. I really hope that this does not continue to stay a cold case and something new comes up, because Pauline and the Burgett family deserve some closure. But let me know down in the comments if you've heard anything about the Pauline story, or if there's any other cold cases you would like us to talk about. This was a shorter episode, so I really thank you guys for sticking around. I don't have much more about this case except for what I had in front of me. And I know it was very short, but it's one of those things that I saw and I was like, I kind of wanted to talk about. I hope you guys liked it. Please recommend other small cases that we could talk about, or any cryptids, conspiracies, or other mysteries that you want us to do. You can find us anywhere at the Bunker Buddies Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. You find us, all right? Or email us at thebunkerbuddyspodcast@gmail.com. Super easy to get in touch with us. Again, remember to like the video, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time. Remember, stay locked, stay loaded. We're out.